I've been recording for 2 minutes. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to start this one. It's not necessarily a whole lot that we're going to talk about today anyway, because I haven't played that much.
I mean, if you want, I can't wait till you have done at least one more dungeon.
Yeah.
It's up to you. I mean, that would kind of, if you kind of get to where I'm at, which is 2 dungeons and like 70-ish shrines. I mean, you basically be at the halfway point.
Okay, yeah. Because for me, I just barely finished that one shrine, so... Or not the
That
one
one
shrine, the
dungeon, you
one
mean?
dungeon. So I've done the one dungeon. I don't even know how many shrines I've done. I've got, I believe, 6 hearts, and then I expanded my stamina wheel 1 part.
So that's what is that? 12? No, 16. Yeah, 16.
Yeah, 16 additional shrines since the tutorial, and I think I've done a few since then. I think I've done like 2 or 3 since then, not
Mm.
counting the
You got
dungeon.
like 20 some odd shrines.
Yeah, so I've done
I mean, it's it's
some.
it's up to you.
Well, I mean, I was probably, who knows, watch me start the discussion right in the middle of that sentence because I can. This is my channel, I make the rules. But yeah,
Post post edit Holden just doesn't do an intro to the video.
pretty much. I mean, I might record my own intro later at some point when I'm not too lazy to do editing because I'm binging Final Fantasy 16. Anyways, welcome to Zelda Talks to everybody. This episode is going to be a little bit different than the first one because the first time Josh and I were kind of going over the tutorial of the game, basically the first like 9-10-ish hours or so. And then we did a little bit of like story speculation and stuff like that based off of the stuff that we had seen so far in the game. This time around, we're expanding the scope a little bit, and only just a little bit, because I finally last weekend completed my first dungeon. As we all know, in Breath of the Wild, there were 4 divine beasts, and those were essentially the dungeons, quote unquote, of that game. Yeah, heavy air quotes for some people. Um, but then this game has more technical dungeons. They're kind of similar to the divine beasts for all intents and purposes, though. At least this first one was. The dungeon that I did complete was in the Rito region. I forget what that area is called. What is it called? Enlighten me.
Hebrew,
Hebrew? Okay, yeah, that's right.
yeah, Hebrew,
I,
Hebrew region.
yeah, I don't remember some of these names too well. When you're reading like 15,000 fantasy books and have about 50 million names per book, and then you play a game off and on sometimes, you forget names. But yeah, that's basically the point that I've gotten to. And Josh has also completed that dungeon. And how much more have
Yes.
you done beyond that?
So I've completed 2, technically 3 dungeons. The other dungeon I've completed isn't really a dungeon. You'll see what I mean when you get there. And I've completed about 70 some odd shrines and like 60 light routes. So I'm basically halfway through the main game, more or less. Pretty much.
Bonkers. And then here I am. I'm
Yeah,
like 23 hours of the way in.
yeah, I've got, I don't know exactly how many hours I have, like 110, I think, according to my Switch. So
Okay, yeah. That makes sense, because for me, I did play those 9 hours on that weekend of release, and then it was over a month since I got to play. So that's why I'm so far behind and why I haven't done nearly as much, is because there was like, I want to say close to 5 weeks of time that I just did not play the game, either because of no
mm,
time or because of the 1 or 2 times that I did have the time to play the game, I was into doing something else. One time I tried, was on it for a few minutes, the shrine was frustrating me, and I was like, I just want to write right now. So then I went and got off the game and I started to write. So
yeah,
yeah.
some of the shrines. I mean, there's one you probably did it. It's in the Hebrew region. It's called Courage to Fall. Did you do that one?
I don't know off the top of my head, not based off of the
Okay.
name.
Well, anyway, it's one that like it has like lasers in it, and you have to like you basically have to like use your shield and like trip the laser and fall.
I don't know if I have. I've done a shrine that has laser stuff in it, but I don't know if I've done the one that you're thinking about.
Okay. Well, anyway, that one is like tripped up a lot of people, and it's in the Hebrew region.
Okay, so I probably haven't done it because I only had one shrine that was tripping me up, and that was in the southeast end of Central Hyrule, or yeah, and that shrine was only tripping me up because I don't have enough brain space, or didn't have enough brain space when I was trying to do it, and then I did it by accident. I attached a couple things in certain ways, trying to do something else, and then it just started to work, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna move
If
on.
all else fails, just make a thing with Ultra Hand.
Yeah, that's what it was, because I had to, do something to get a certain piece up somewhere by using Ultra Hand to combine stuff, and I was like, okay, and I couldn't figure out to do it for a long time, and then I did it by accident. I was like, that's fine, that's fine. I'll take the accident, but most of the other shrines I haven't struggled with. Have there been many shrines that have tripped you up?
Um, no, not necessarily. Like the ones that have been like kind of the hardest for me was that one that I mentioned, and then there was another one where, and like this is another one that like it trips everybody up. Um, it's an Ultra Hand shrine. It's one where you have to like get a ball kind of up and around, and it's like this kind of, it's almost like a ladder almost. Um, you basically have to like attach a ball to um like a stone slab. You kind of have to uh add momentum to get it to kind of like go up a ladder or something like that. And then there's this other section um where you basically have to like kind of like attach the orb to another. You basically have to like make a paddle boat. Um, and it's like it's really weird.
I
It was a really weird try.
I remember doing a shrine where I basically made a boat that would paddle itself to get across one specific spot. Probably not the shrine you're thinking of, though.
You would know what I was talking about if you did that shrine. It has like these like metal walls, like 4 or 5 metal walls that are kind of um like in this pool of water going long ways, and you kind of make a paddle boat, but you can also like sandwich the um like the ball in like a stone slab and like 2 wheels on these metal walls so that like the wheels balance on the walls and it just rides across the tops of the walls. Super weird.
Okay, yeah, I've not seen anything remotely like that in my time. And sorry for people watching the video. I'm adjusting camera or Josh's camera on the fly because I noticed something that was wrong with
It's
it.
fine.
So, yeah,
Technical difficulties.
don't
We'll
mind
fix
me.
it.
You can still listen. It's fine. So, I
Yeah.
think I'm fine. But yeah, like I said, I don't think I've had many struggles with shrines. But moving through the environment has been strangely different despite being the same map. A lot of this is because the Hebrew region in this new game, compared to Breath of the Wild, was suffering some weather difficulties, we'll say,
Yeah.
from
Mhm.
the dungeon that you have to solve. And I thought that this was a neat way to go about it, introducing new types of obstacles with the terrain for this area. Have you seen anything about what the Gerudo, is that the area the Gerudo
Yeah.
region is going to be? If that, how that might be
I have
affected?
not I still haven't been to the southwest portion of the map yet. I've been there to unlock the tower. I have every tower now. Um, if I recall correctly, that might be the one I'm missing. Um, yeah, but I haven't been there yet. That's the dungeon I'm going to do last. So I haven't been to that area yet. I know what is going on there. I'm not going to spoil it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
it's probably the most interesting,
Hmm.
I would say.
That's good to know, because the reason that I brought it up was because in Breath of the Wild there were a couple of the regions whose weather patterns and events were being affected by the divine beasts, those being the
Hmm.
Gerudo and whatever the water people's area is. I don't remember
Laura.
names. Yeah. Cuz in the one it was the divine beast with the water and it was just raining. That was one of the
Right.
best parts of Breath of the Wild to me, quite frankly, was going through and getting up to the area to meet
Right.
these
Like you
people.
couldn't climb, and that was like the whole thing with the game.
Yeah, that was it was great. I loved it. It was so good. Uh Grudo, on the other hand, was not fun.
I mean, with that, it was like a sandstorm, I
Yeah,
think
it
is
was a
what it was.
sandstorm. Yeah. It
And
was
so you couldn't It's been so long because I've only played that section of Breath of the Wild once, but I'm pretty sure I guess you couldn't explore like half that region before you did the dungeon
Yeah,
because it was a sandstorm.
there was a good chunk of it that you just couldn't do, or you could kind of like cheat your way into doing a small portion of it, but for the most part, there was just a lot of the region that was just locked off to you as a result of this. Um,
Right.
which was interesting about Hebra because I don't get that vibe from this game in Tears of the Kingdom that the weather events would inhibit you from exploring most of the areas, just that it was going to be snow or snowier and colder.
Right. Yeah, my understanding so far from what I played is no. Like, well, I guess that's not entirely true. I think there is something, unless it's like a story trigger, I think there is something that will stop you from exploring the area around the fire temple. I may be wrong because I didn't go down there before I hit that story trigger, so I don't know if the main quest triggers it or not. But it's also possible probably to get to that area from another way than the way you go to it in the story.
And that's fair. Because given this map, that's a lot of the appeal of these two games in particular is just being able to go anywhere and do anything. There are
Right.
relatively few, and especially in Tears of the Kingdom, there are relatively few encounters or puzzles or anything like that where you can't just approach it from any direction. There are very few of them that are limited in their scope, which is actually a really nice thing
Mhm.
from a gameplay perspective. Even if people like me who are not good at puzzles and don't have good brains for game puzzles, I used to be, but for whatever reason, I'm just not as patient for it anymore. So like even going up to this dungeon in the Hebrew region in the game was like that was a long build up for that
Yeah,
dungeon.
like the build up was probably longer than the dungeon itself,
Oh
ironically.
yeah, like twice as long for me.
Right.
Yeah, it was absurdly long, but it was cool. And speaking of, it is something that we can touch on a little bit. So obviously, if you're watching, we're going to spoil stuff related to the Wind Temple, the
Right.
Hebrew region dungeon is what we're going to talk about. We're not going to spoil any of the other dungeons or anything like that because I haven't touched them yet. But the Wind Temple I thought was a really interesting dungeon and I think was largely improved over the Divine Beasts, broadly speaking, from Breath of the Wild. I don't know if that's the
Yeah, I
vibe
mean,
you got.
if we like, yeah, if I mean, if we specifically want to touch on Von Meadow, I think Von Meadow is probably my least favorite Divine Beast,
Is
just
that
because
was that the
uh,
Hebrew Divine Beast in
yeah,
Breath of the Wild?
yeah, it was yeah, that was the bird.
I
Um,
think that one actually might have been my favorite one.
hmm,
I'm not
that's interesting.
entirely sure about that in terms of like actually completing the divine beasts, the process of doing so. I think Va Meadow, if that was the Hebrew one, was my favorite one.
Yeah, Von
Probably
Meadow
because
was
it wasn't it
the
wasn't the
bird.
least counterintuitive because a lot of the other ones had like especially the Gerudo beast. That one was not easy. Like there was a lot of stuff about it that just like seemed like trial and error more than anything else. It was a lot of
Right. You kind of, I mean, you had to line up the belly of the beast essentially.
yeah, and basically everything else associated with that was a struggle for me. The uh, basically, I think it was the easiest for me because I had relatively simplistic controls to do it. You basically leaned the divine beast one direction or the other, and that was
Mhm.
more or less all that you could do with it. So most of it was relatively self-contained. That might
Right.
have
I mean,
just been me
that
being
was
a
kind of that
simplistic
was kind
gamer.
of my issue with it is that I almost found it too easy. Like I don't remember exactly where the terminals were, but like one was kind of at one end, one was at the other, and like I don't remember where the other three were, but I mean
I mean, that
that
was
that
fair.
dungeon was the easiest that I can remember.
I think
Almost
it
too easy.
was the easiest. That might have been one of the reasons why I liked it was because I really struggled with two of those four. Like
Hmm.
like there that Gerudo one especially. I both times that I did it because have I haven't played through the whole game twice, but I played through enough of the game a second time that I ended up doing that Divine Beast a second time. Both times I
Hmm.
had to look up YouTube guides to complete it because I could just not figure it out. I just
Yeah, I mean
couldn't get it complete.
Varuta was my first divine beast, and I got stuck on it.
Yeah, not surprised. It's not horribly well designed. This, the Wind Temple, I would say differentiates itself because it's not quite so interconnected the way that the Divine Beasts were, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. And on
I
the
mean,
other,
the thing is with these new dungeons is that like they're musically and visually themed to the race, but they're still openly structured like the Divine Beasts,
yeah,
which I'm largely okay with because like past dungeons have been linear more like there. I mean, there's past dungeons have kind of been a mix. Like some have been non-linear, some have been linear, and
uh,
some have even been like kind of pseudo-linear where there's like a set path. Um, and then there are a bunch of like, so there's some other side paths you can't go down if they don't do anything.
okay, that's
That's
interesting
largely
to
talking
note.
about the 3D games.
Okay, because for me, at least, I just thought that it was interesting. Going to set off these separate terminals in the Wind Temple felt like more of an independent piece by piece thing compared
Mhm.
to a lot of the Divine Beast design from Breath of the Wild, which was a lot of doing it was a lot of the time you could do most of those terminals. You had to do them in a relatively specific order. There were a couple of them that were like kind of free roam, but there were a couple of them that like you couldn't do one until you got to another one because of the way that it was constructed. It seemed
Yeah,
like
I mean, I think I remember, and I think in all of four Divine Beasts, you had to do the first terminal first.
that is true.
Then
I think
I
so,
think after
yeah.
that you could do any of the other four in any order. And I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure in Tears of the Kingdom you can do any of them in any order.
I think so. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But overall, I just thought that the design was really neat, and having a sort of companion for the temple was really neat.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the bird's name already, or
Tulin.
Tulin. That's right. I'm sorry, I'm
And
forgetting all the names.
it's
That's going to be a trend.
also really interesting to me that Tulin was your companion and not Tiba, because I was expecting it
Yes.
to be Tiba,
Yeah.
because he's the one exception. Spoiler alert, I guess he's the one exception.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. I just thought that having the companion was interesting because I don't recall any of the divine beasts having a companion.
No, like that wasn't the thing in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. So
There,
it
you didn't have any kind of companion character, party members, or anything like that.
yeah it was nice to have a companion, and surprisingly, the companion is a little bit useful in combat. Tulin
I
having
mean,
a bow and
he's
occasionally hurting things was nice.
I mean, Tulin comes in clutch. Like I'm
Yes,
not gonna lie. Like
absolutely.
he gets headshots. Like
Yeah.
he absolutely gets headshots.
It's great because sometimes you'll be like, okay, well, how am I going to defeat this guy now? Like, I'm going to switch to this weapon and fuse it with this. Just Tulin shoots an arrow and boom, done.
I mean, he can stun Lionels for you if you get the headshot. So
Oh, that would be
yeah,
that, that
he comes in clutch.
that would probably be the best way
He's
to fight them because
besides the fifth sage. No spoilers on the fifth sage. Um,
no
Tulin's
questions
probably
about
the
the sage.
no. You'll get to the fifth sage. Trust me. Fifth sage is interesting. Um, but Tulin is outside of the fifth stage. Tulin is probably the most useful out of the four.
Okay, that's good to know. But the other thing that I wanted to touch on, since we've kind of talked about this aspect as well, was having essentially the companion to be able to call upon elsewhere in the game after, beating the temple. Because in
Right.
Breath of the Wild, once you defeated one of the divine beasts, you got a blessing from
Mhm.
champions.
Right.
Like most notably, the one that I remember the most and the one that's the most broadly useful in my recollection is the Zora blessing from Breath of the Wild,
Because
which
Chris.
was, yeah, if you died, you revived.
Mhm.
So you could basically
I
die
I
without dying if
honestly
you avoided dangers enough.
honestly, and you'll probably encounter this when you get one or two more um companions because it's not really an issue when you only have one. I prefer the way the Breath of the Wild executed the abilities because they're all bound to the A button
Yeah.
in Tears of the Kingdom, and they only work when you walk up to them. It's kind of
Oh,
yeah,
fair. That
it's
seems like
kind of
it'll be
it's
clunky.
frustrating that way. Yeah, it is because um like they should really just be bound to their own their own button. I mean, the nice thing is that when you glide, like Tulin he just works automatically. And same thing with Unova whenever you're flying, whenever you're flying on anything or like riding any kind of vehicle, he's automatically just set up ready to go,
That
which is
makes
good.
sense because
Yeah, the other ones I don't know about because I haven't used them yet, but you know,
fair. I think I wonder how that'll change as well going forward because since you can activate or deactivate any of the companions, it seems like you'll have the ability to. I think it also will allow for a little bit of player expression in that realm, a
yeah, I
little bit.
mean, there have been times where I've deactivated them just because they kind of get in the way. Um, like again, I have three of them, and that the fifth stage, as much as I like it, it probably it tends to get in the way sometimes. Um, so yeah, sometimes if they get in the way, I'll deactivate ones I don't need.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that they tried something different, but yeah, the companions are an interesting thing to include, especially just having come across Tulin. It'll make some forms of traversal really nice, like just
Right.
it'll make certain portions of the game a little bit easier that way, or at least slightly less tedious. Be able to reach more of the Sky Islands.
Right. And like it's so funny. Like I've kind of been seeing this kind of on social media. Like we've had companion characters in the past, and like even though these are like avatars and not actual characters running around with us, it's still super weird that we have like a party in a Zelda game
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, that's fair. Um, especially, and that's kind of an interesting point to make because since I've been playing Final Fantasy 16, that's one of the things that some people aren't the happiest about with Final Fantasy 16 is because it slightly disconnects itself only a little bit, not too much, in my opinion. It disconnects a little bit from the party system, so to speak.
Right.
You don't have a set of, 3 or 4 companions, and you're
Mhm.
there all of the time unless somebody gets separated. Since Final Fantasy 16 is more focused on Clive, and then the other people that are with you just kind of come and go, but they haven't come and gone as much as I think SkillUp suggested they would, at least not in my experience so far. Either way, it was an interesting point to make because Final Fantasy, as a series based off of parties and disconnecting, is the opposite kind of issue.
Right. Yeah. It's just funny to me watching these people that are super late game just having five avatars kind of running around with you. I'm like, oh, okay. That's something I've never done in Zelda before.
Yeah, it is an interesting idea, but of course, once I get later in the game, and even when you get later in the game, we'll see how well the execution is on that uh fully.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I kind of assume I'm going to kind of continue to kind of dismiss them when I don't need them, and kind of when they're getting in the way. But I don't know. Hopefully, it won't get worse after the
Fair.
next two dungeons.
I think I'll see myself doing that is dismissing them for the majority of the time, unless I need them. That's the way that
Well,
I am.
they do actually help you in combat, of course, as you know.
Yeah,
And
healing comes
I
in
won't
clutch.
I won't say I won't say what they are or where they are, but there are actually items to increase their combat damage.
That'll be nice.
Mm, yeah, not by a whole lot apparently, but you know, it's better than
Well,
better than nothing.
any additional combat damage when your weapons break after 2.5 smacks is a good thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just in terms of the world exploration as well, I think I'm enjoying the exploration of Tears of the Kingdom a little bit less than I did in Breath of the Wild, but I think a lot of that is because most of the exploration that I've done has been on just the surface. So a
Right.
lot of it has been the same. So even in the Hebrew region where, the terrain and stuff is different and, actually getting to talk to any of the Rito is difficult because you have to get over the chasm because the bridge broke because of the storm.
Right.
Even though some of the terrain and stuff is a little bit different, I think broadly speaking, I haven't enjoyed the exploration quite as much, even though it gives me the same feeling, except for the Sky Isles. The Sky Isles have been nice. How many of these have you done?
I don't have an exact number, but if I had to hazard a guess, I'd say at least half.
Okay. Yeah, because I've
Yep.
I've done a few. I've done a few. I
Mhm.
want to say I've done like 3 actual like named clusters.
Yep.
Maybe a 4th. Well, that a 4th if you count everything building up to the Wind Temple as as a sky island, which it's
Right.
not really,
So
but
it's technically not.
yeah, it's
You think
technically
about it.
not, even though you're doing plenty of the same stuff. But
Right.
overall, it's been nice, and I have not touched the depths yet since. I mean, I did go into one portion, uh, in the Hebrew region. I went into one of the chasms, but beyond going into that chasms and coming across my first of the what is it, the Yiga clan or whatever they are.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
my first one of those in this game. I totally forgot about them. I haven't broadly done anything in the depths yet, and it wasn't until
As long as you got auto build and the camera, like you're fine. You don't need to explore anything
yeah.
down there right now.
How I don't even know if I have auto build. How do you get auto build so I know if I have it or not?
I guess I'll go ahead and say it because it's not really a spoiler, especially because it's so early on in the depths. You get it in the depths. It's like I can't remember if it's like its own quest or if it's like the first leg of a quest. But it's like part of a quest. You kind of just follow Robbie and you'll find it eventually. Like you don't have to go very far.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
It's
So
like
I might
if you
have
kind
it.
of follow that quest, it's one of the first things you do down in the depths. And then
Okay, so I might
after
have
that
it, but I
quest,
haven't used it.
it kind of lets you go do whatever you want in the depths.
Yeah, I'll have to mess around with auto build for sure because yeah, I'm not going to want to spend the time building stuff all the time. But
Well, there are ways. I won't spoil this, but there are ways that the depth kind of um, mitigates building that has to do with auto build. You'll find out.
fair.
Yeah,
But
it's all stuff that's located down in the depths,
yeah,
which is kind of honestly the main reason you explore it.
that is fair cuz otherwise there isn't necessarily that much else to find in the depths, right?
Um,
Not that
I
I've
mean,
heard of
there's
anyway.
unique bosses, but they don't really. Well, actually, there actually is a reason to fight them. Yeah, there's a unique bosses, like mini bosses, like you know the Henoxes and the Taluses, but like uh they're not depth versions, but they're different new monsters that are made for the depths. It's those kind of bosses.
Okay,
Um, yeah, and then there's uh, what else was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought.
fair.
Oh,
See,
there's the dungeon boss rematches.
oh right, yeah. Yeah, cuz you've
Yeah,
mentioned those a
yeah.
few times.
Make sure you do those because you actually use those.
Okay, cuz for me I basically haven't touched the depths, like I said. I went into the one chasm in the Hebrew region and turned on the light rope that was like 2 steps away from it.
Right,
And that was when it fully sank into me how big the depths are, because obviously they're big. They're as big as the map. But when you do the first bit of that
right.
quest with Robbie, right? And
Yeah,
you go down there and you get that picture and everything, and you turn on
right.
like the 2 light ropes in the process, you're like, oh, this place is big, and then you just
And then
kind of
you open up
dismiss
the
it.
map.
Yeah, but even then, like I just kind of dismissed it. But then when I turned on the light route all the way over in the corner and realized how much space there was between them, I was like,
Right.
oh, they are big.
Yeah.
I don't want to do them. Not
Yeah, I've
until I'm
explored
higher
about half
level
the depths,
anyway.
give or take.
You've explored half.
Yeah, give or take. I have
Jeez.
about 60 light routes.
Oh, that's a lot.
Oh, also, yeah, also, I think I mentioned this in our last discussion, but in case I haven't, I just want to mention it now. Every light route is connected to a shrine on the surface.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
I knew that at least.
yep.
I'll have to.
And then the rest of the shrines are in the sky. So
Okay, so every shrine on the surface is connected to a
yes,
light route,
yes.
and every light route connects to a shrine. That's good to know. That's actually
Yeah,
really good to know.
so that's the thing is if for example you find a light route and you go to that same place on the surface, but the shrine's not there, it's in a cave.
Yeah, it means it's hidden somewhere. That's good to
Right.
know. I'll have to mark some of that stuff.
Yeah, well, like what I've been doing is every time I find a shrine or a light route, I then mark either a shrine or light route on the surface or the depths, respectively.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I was
Just so
like,
I know that it's there.
yeah, I was thinking about doing that with a lot of the shrines that I've done, but I was too lazy to actually put markers down. Like this is the first.
The thing is with light routes is that most of the time you can see them long before you get to them in the depths.
Yeah,
So like you can just pin it when you're driving or walking or flying or whatever. You
yeah.
can just pin it from far away.
In the depths, it's not quite so much, but if you're in the depths and you're exploring and marking them on the surface is at the minimum what I should do. But you see, for
Right.
me, Tears of the Kingdom might just be the first game that has offered like stamps or markers or anything like that for you to manually do with your map that aren't just like a pin or anything like
Right.
that, where you just mark one thing that you're going to right now and you go there and then it's fine. This might be the first time that I used the other stamps in there, like the sword and the treasure chest and stuff like that. I never
Mhm.
used those in Breath of the Wild, not even once. And in no other games where markers or stamps have been offered have I used them unironically. I've n-
I use them occasionally in Breath of the Wild, but I'm using it a lot more in Tears.
yeah, I'm using them a lot. Like I have a few of them that I kind of go to because
Mhm.
now that I realize kind of the scope of some things, and especially like the Sky Islands and stuff, I put a specific type of stamp on every single piece of Sky Island material,
Mhm.
that I've discovered in the region that I've just scouted or whatever, and make sure to go
Mhm.
do all of that. And if there's like a
Mhm.
fight, like a boss that I haven't beat yet or anything like that, I'll mark that with a sword. Whereas
Mhm.
in Breath of the Wild, I never bothered with that kind of stuff. So at least that the game has succeeded in making me unironically want to use stamps for something.
Right. Well, eventually, I feel like this isn't really a spoiler. You eventually get Hero's Path, and you don't really have to mark where you haven't been anymore because you just know
Oh
because
yeah,
Hero's Path is just
that's true too. But
that's kind of what I've been doing to kind of tell where I haven't been on the Sky Islands because otherwise I would have no idea
yeah,
because there's so many little islands that aren't named that I don't remember if I've been to them or not. So I have to use Hero's Path.
for me, it's I mark with the stamp all the ones that I haven't been to, and as I explore them, I take off the stamp. So
Yep.
that's how I automatically know. It's like, so there's a handful that still have a stamp on there, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'll get to there at some point, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, there's a quest that I've been doing that for with the Sky Island. There's a bunch of islands that you find that some like half of which I haven't been to, and I have to mark them because I don't remember which ones I haven't been to. And then like there are a bunch of like circular platforms that have like flux constructs on them,
Yeah.
and all the ones I haven't been to, I've marked all those.
Yeah,
I've been
I've
trying to like not mark bosses I've already killed, so I don't kill them again, thinking that I haven't killed them.
that's fair. But see, like that's why I've kind of done the system that I've done because I've been marking all the ones that I haven't done before I do anything. So like once I,
Mm,
scout a new region and unlock a new piece of the map, I'll mark all the Sky Islands immediately that uncover themselves, and then I'll go do the stuff.
right,
So that way I know if there's a stamp there, I haven't done it. And if there's not a
right.
stamp there, I've probably done it. And if I miss
Yeah,
something because
I
I
have I
haven't
have
done
a
it and
really
forgot to
bad
stamp
habit
it,
of
that's on
like
me.
Yeah, I have a really bad habit of like jumping around. Like I'll remember one thing I need to do up in the sky, and I'll go do it, and I'll remember one thing I need to go in the depths, and I'll go down the depths and do it. And I like jump between layers a lot.
I don't really do
So I
that.
feel like I'm not the only person that does that.
Do you use the fast travel a lot? Do you
Yeah,
teleport all over the place?
yeah.
Okay, because I relatively infrequently teleport,
Hmm.
so I'm apparently completely different play style at this point, which is
Well, I mean,
interesting
the
to
thing
note.
is like obviously I'm not trying to rush through the game, but not teleporting is gonna like balloon my playtime. So
Oh yeah, for sure. For me, it's just a matter of I'm just kind of doing the thing,
right.
letting intuition, that's what you can call it, guide me. Not even really
Mhm.
intuition, it's just desire to explore and all that fancy whatnot. But see, for me, the way I've unlocked two map pieces besides Central Hyrule, I think. I
Right.
haven't even gone around and done any of that stuff yet for the most part. Like once
I
I
mean, the towers are both easier to find and easier to get to than they were in Breath of the Wild because of the Sky Islands and because of the towers you already have.
fair, yeah,
So
and
I mean, like I said, I have either all of them or all of them but one. They weren't that hard to get to.
I would say for the most part, I think the towers in Breath of the Wild were easier for me to find and see
Mm-hmm.
because I don't recall. I think there was only like one or two of them that were like obscured by landscape or anything like that. For
Right.
the most part, they were all like visible. If you were standing on one, you could see pretty much all of the others and pin them.
Right.
Versus here, you can see them really easily at night. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
not at night, I don't notice them, which is both a good thing and not a good thing.
Depends on how close I am.
Yeah. Yeah. But the one thing that we haven't talked about yet, surprisingly, was the actual boss of the Wind Temple.
Oh yeah, how did I forget?
Well, we just kind of went off on a tangent.
Yeah, we did. Um, so I mean, we've kind of talked about this in our DMs kind of already.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Terrified the
So
heck out of me when he first appeared. I was like, what in the world is this? Before I realized he was super easy.
I knew as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, we saw this in the trailers. But I mean, it was still cool either way. The music is phenomenal.
I don't remember how much of the music I remember, to be honest, because while playing a lot of games at this point, while I'm playing, I have something, like watching a video or a stream or something on my other monitor.
Right.
At the same time, and especially with this game and like Breath of the Wild and stuff, because there's so little happening in terms of
Fair.
auditory or anything like that is important. So I can pause when an actual memory or a cutscene or something like that happens, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. I can pause whatever I'm watching when something like that happens and start a quick recording or whatever. But otherwise, I don't need to be listening to the game, so I haven't been paying attention.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you weren't listening to that song, like when you're fighting the boss, if you don't remember it very well, like go back and listen to it again, like on your own time, and you're like editing videos or something, because it's really good.
I'll have to, because yeah,
And
that's
I don't know if it's the best boss theme, but it's probably in the running for the best boss theme because like I don't know, like the Fire Temple boss theme didn't hit me the same, but I mean the Wind Temple, the Wind Temple boss theme, like the Rito Village theme, is a throwback to Dracon's Island, which is already an incredible song. So
fair enough. Yeah, I wasn't paying too much attention to that, but yeah, the actual boss itself, I thought was pretty fun. I thought was
yeah.
generally better than all of the blights from Breath of the
Okay,
Wild.
so I have a question.
Okay.
Because I've actually been like seeing people do this differently. How did you like actually fight the boss?
Was there any way different to fight the boss?
Yes, actually, there are two different methods.
I was just flying through the air and aiming my arrows and shooting his weak spots.
No, why?
What?
That's why I asked you. Did it wrong?
Oh no, your video's cut out and it's lagging aggressively. Your anger lagged the connection. There you go. Now you're good.
my rage. You're supposed to crash through him at full speed.
Oh, can you do that?
Yes.
I didn't even think about it. Well, there was one time that I did that because it was available and it was easier than aiming.
Okay.
Like when he was like directly below me, yeah, but.
And the thing is, like, you can just like, you can either just like fall through him normally, and I'm pretty sure you can also just like dive through him normally. But why would you not just hold R and crash through him at full speed? Like it feels the best.
I didn't think about it except for diving when he was directly below me, because when he was directly below me, I couldn't aim. But whenever he was flying around otherwise, yeah, it was just aiming.
Yeah, I was like, I was like, I'm gonna die. Like, why would I use arrows?
Yeah, it was a bit easier than I was thinking it was going to be, especially how intimidating his appearance was at first glance. But with that being said, I enjoyed the fight. Like I said, generally speaking, I think was better than any of the blights from Breath of the Wild.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the Fire Temple boss was better than any of the Blights. I mean, the Fire Temple boss was fairly easy as well, but that's because I had the Master Sword and a good material equipped, so he wasn't very difficult.
Oh, you had the
So
Master Sword?
yeah, yeah. Did I not tell you?
I
Yeah,
don't know if you've mentioned it.
I'm pretty sure I mentioned either in our last discussion or between it and this discussion that I got the Master Sword.
It was
Fairly
probably in
certain.
between, and it might have been a DM
Probably
that
in
I don't
between.
recall. Because
Probably.
I don't know if I remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain I mentioned it. But yeah, I have the Master Sword and I used it for that fight and it made it pretty easy.
Okay, because yeah, I have not gotten the Master Sword yet. Um, but I'm
If
I'm
yeah,
hoping to. Say what?
I'm trying to like find out how to word this. I don't know, like I stumbled across it entirely by accident. So
Okay.
and if you do the story will eventually lead you to it. And it's actually like it's technically required. Um, like you get it before you beat the game, so it's technically required.
Yeah.
You have to get it to beat the game. Um, so yeah, I ran across it entirely by accident, and I couldn't even get it, so I had to leave and come back.
Oh, well, that was kind of like most people's experiences in Breath of the Wild, I think, too. Most people couldn't
Yeah,
get it yet when they first encountered it.
right.
At least I don't think so, anyway. Because it required a lot.
Yeah. Honestly, the Master Sword in this game requires less than it does in Breath of the Wild.
I mean, that's probably a good thing, especially if
Yeah.
it's more or less required to beat the game, because I don't think in Breath of the Wild you had to get the Master Sword.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, you did not have to get it.
You didn't.
You could just speed run and do a bunch of glitches and to get to
Yeah.
Central Hyrule in about 2.5 seconds from the start of the game and beat the game in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I haven't watched any speed runs because I haven't beaten the game. And I don't want any more spoilers for the final boss than I've already seen, which is probably too much. But I also spoiled it for myself. Um,
I have not.
but yeah, don't. Um,
I
don't.
almost did on accident because it was in a random comment section at one point, and I was like, okay, let's not watch this actually.
Yeah, just avoid even any comments because it'll spoil mechanics and stuff. I've had mechanics spoiled for me, unfortunately. Um, yeah, but I think the final boss is again like I haven't watched speed runs, but I imagine the final boss being a lot harder to speed run than Breath of the Wild.
I could see it. Probably wanted to cut down a little bit on that because I mean, like, they still give you the option to like more or less go to the very end of the game as soon as you want. But
As far as I'm aware, you still can because I mean, like I said, I've done the end game dungeon and I got to what I'm fairly certain was the first phase of the final boss, and I noped out to the home screen.
yeah, yeah. So I haven't gone anywhere near the castle since that very first occurrence. But
Yeah,
uh,
don't go into the Howard Castle chasm. You're not ready. You will die.
well, I die enough as is. Just aggravating. But with that being said, the one other thing that I did want to touch on was I did get my first, I believe it was technically the first memory of the game. I think
Okay.
maybe if that's
Yeah,
what you can call it.
you mentioned that in our DMs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and
I was overreacting to you, but yeah, I did get my first memory, and this may or may not be spoilers for any random person watching. But if you have examined the the basically the Rito symbol that's kind of like cut into the hill in the
yeah,
Hebrew region,
it's on your way to
yeah,
to the Twin Temple.
there's a very
I mean,
good chance that if
if
you've
you've done
gone,
that leg of the quest, I mean, you've seen
there's a very
that
good
memory.
chance you've done that and gotten to
And
that memory.
I'm fairly certain you have to get that memory first anyway. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain you have to get that one first anyway.
Okay, but yeah, if either way, if you've done the Wind Temple, there's a very good chance you've gotten this first memory. Is it not memory number 1? I can't remember if it is. I think it might be memory number 5. I don't know why I think that, but
I don't no, it's not. I remember now, it's not.
okay, because
You get memory one later.
okay, yeah, because I was like, I don't think it's memory number 1, but it was the first memory that I came across, and
You might be able to get the first memory first. I actually don't know.
it'd be weird to call it memory number 1 if you couldn't technically get it first.
Well, it's not part of the Dragon's Tears quest.
Interesting. Well, it's probably
Yeah,
main story
they're
related then.
it is. I mean, they all are, but there's a handful of them. Like I don't know how many it is, like 5 or something like that, that aren't part of um the Dragon's Tears quest.
Okay. Yeah, because there's
Yeah.
I think for me, since I've done the Wind Temple, I think that direction that I was actually gonna head towards next was towards the second stage of the Dragon Tears quest. The next location that's unlocked. Because it's just a little bit northeast of where I am in Hebra. So I was gonna head up
Mhm.
there and do that. Might as well.
You said was it the Northeast?
Slightly northeast of the Wind Temple in the Hebra region.
Is it near the labyrinth?
Potentially. I haven't unlocked
Okay.
that portion of the map.
Okay. If I recall correctly, I think that's one of the better memories.
Okay, good to know. Because I mean, the memory that we got, that first one, was pretty neato, and I was not expecting Zelda to have gotten sent into the past. Spoiler warning.
Well, yeah, honestly, like
But I mean, it makes
like I
sense for it
said,
to be memories.
right. I mean, well, that's the thing is like the memories are. I mean, they're better because Zelda's in the past. Like, I mean, she was in the past in both games, but she's in the past in a different way this time.
Yeah, in Breath of the Wild, she was in the past because it was also your memories of 100 years ago. This game,
Right.
it's
These times it's more visions
yeah, it's like
rather than
she's
memories.
not supposed to be there, but she is, and you're seeing
Right.
her experience there, and
Mhm.
they're memories because they're the past, but not because
Right.
you
And it,
actually
it
have
it
them.
introduces like a whole like weird like time paradox thing because like she was there in the past, but she's also here in the present. And like technically, like Mummy Dwarf has been down there pre Tears of the Kingdom. We just didn't know it. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
There are a lot of questions as well, because like all of the random sightings of Zelda on the surface in real time, I'm very, very, very suspicious of them. I
Sus,
was
sus Zelda.
Yeah, I was very suspicious the first one that we saw at Hyrule Castle with the
Yeah.
guardsman, whatever his name was.
I
I
was,
seeing or hearing about other occurrences and like Tulin having seen her or whatever, and I'm like,
mhm.
I hmm sus.
Yeah, she will
Amogus.
continue to be, yeah, she will continue to be very sus throughout the game. For
Ha-
reasons you'll actually find out in one of the memories.
I hope so, because for whatever, like, my mind just, for whatever reason, just goes to the conclusion that that's not actually Zelda. I
It
can't justify it, but it seems like it
right.
shouldn't be. Like, for what it shouldn't
I'm
be.
not gonna spoil it, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Okay, because yeah, for me up to this point, I'm thinking like that's not real Zelda. I don't. It shouldn't be. Like, why would she just kind of be here and just like appear to certain people and then just disappear? Like, what would be her reason?
Right.
So I'm just like, I'm confused by that, but that's part of why I want to do more of the Dragon Tears quest as well, is to get more of the memories, because I want to know.
Yeah, I did them all fairly early. I mean, you can do them all right now. I mean, there's nothing stopping you, and because you can shoot yourself up into the sky via tower, like they're not really hard to get to. So
Yeah,
you can do them all right now.
that is the thing that I think is improved about these towers compared to Breath of the Wilds as well, is because you can actually go into them and be like, I want
Yeah,
to reach this Sky
you don't have
Island,
to
or
climb them. You don't have to climb them. You can shoot yourself up into the sky. Like they're a lot better.
yeah. So like
They have a
it's
lot
just
more
like
utility.
I want to get to this area, but I don't have like a shrine or any other place to teleport in a Sky Island nearby, so I'm just gonna go to this tower and just like shoot up and fly a little bit of the way there. Especially since
Uh-huh.
I have like a wingsuit shirt thing that allows me to
Okay.
fly a little bit better. So
Yeah, and I feel like this isn't really a spoiler to say. But there are two other islands that look like the one that you got that shirt at. That's
I
revealed
don't
to
I
you as you
don't
go.
remember what it looked like, to be honest. I just remember
Okay, well,
finding it.
good. It's
So
not really a spoiler.
Yeah, because I just remember getting the item and I was like, oh, I can go a little bit further. Pog.
Yeah, that full armor suit is pretty OP.
Like
Basically, I use
higher
it
number
basically
make
whenever I'm
monkey brain go happy.
skydiving. Brain like new armor.
Yes. But yeah, so I'm basically going to continue to play the way that I have been because what's been interesting about it has been largely focused on just going to the next thing that is there, like seeing kind of stuff. And the only thing that I think I'm not liking as much about this as Breath of the Wild in terms of exploring and questing and stuff is that in Breath of the Wild, if there were any NPCs that you talked to that basically told you a rumor, it would track the rumors as the first part of a side quest. In
Right.
this game, it doesn't. If you hear a
Hmm.
rumor of something being in an area, you just have to freaking remember that or mark it down in some other way. And I'm like, why? You're gonna make my life harder.
Yeah, I mean, there's been one quest that I found. I think it's part of like the Lucky Clover Gazette um chain of side quests. And if you haven't gone there, by the way, make sure you go there
Yeah, I've
and
gone there.
start that quest line. Okay, good.
Yeah,
But I
I've
think there's
gotten a
like
couple
one
pieces
quest
of it.
at one of those stables where like it gives you a rumor and it gives you a quest, but and it marks like the objective marker like at the stable you got the quest from, and not where it's telling you to go, which is like in the Faron region. So I'm like, why?
That's even
It's super
worse than just
weird.
not giving you a marker. Like, why? Yeah,
Yeah,
see that
I don't know. I don't
from a
understand why it does
questing
it that way.
perspective, that does actually irritate me. That's the one thing is like, why couldn't you just make the rumors the same? Like, just label them as rumored quests as they were in Breath of the Wild and give me a marker to the, not like the exact location, because most of those rumors didn't have the exact same thing in Breath of the Wild either. Like, they didn't point where you had to go, they just gave you the region or kind of the approximate area, and that was good enough. But
Right.
so yeah, the completionist side of me that wants to do all of the quests and stuff for the sake of doing all the quests is kind of irritated at that.
Yeah, it sucks there's not, like some like in-game new quest tracker like there is for other stuff like Koroks and shrines, but it is what it is. Most NPCs have a red exclamation point above their head if they have a new quest for you, and any NPC you haven't talked to doesn't have a name over their head. So I've basically just been talking to everyone.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing as well because yeah, characters NPCs that have a side quest for you to do that are like relevant to the area and aren't just a rumor do have the
Mm,
exclamation point, which is good. If
mm,
they had stopped doing that, that would have been a really stupid thing.
yeah.
But the rumors don't. Uh, Half of the rumors don't have exclamation points.
Yeah, I swear in Breath of the Wild that was inconsistent, but so far that hasn't been an issue for me in Tears.
Hmm. Interesting. Good to know. Yeah, like I said, I'm probably just gonna continue doing what I've been doing. I'm gonna do a couple of the Dragon Tears part of the quest and just kind of explore on my way because that's what I've been doing. It's like I've had a marker of where I'm going, and
Right.
then
Loosely going,
yeah,
planning on going.
on the way there, I go to all the stables and listen to rumors, do available side quests that are actually side quests,
Right.
and also, do shrines and stuff like that. So, it's going to be a very long game for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a labyrinth up in the Hebrew region. There's a new armor set. Um, there's like maybe one or two other quests that I can think of off the top of my head that I've found. Um, yeah, I mean, there's stuff to find up there before you leave.
For sure. And it'll be areas like Hebra and probably Hebra most especially that like light roots are probably going to come in clutch. 'Cause I
I mean,
don't.
kind of the thing is for me with the depths is I kind of started like in the very center because that was kind of where the game wanted me to go to anyway. So I kind of started there, and I've mostly just kind of explored kind of just out from there for the most part. There's been like a couple um light routes up near Hebra that I found because there's I think like the main quest of the depths kind of takes you there at some point up into the Hebra region. Um because like underneath every town is a mine. And the main quest takes you to a lot of those mines underneath a lot of the towns.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's been a couple light routes that I found underneath Rito Village. But most of what I've explored in the depths is Central and Eastern Hyrule, and then up near where the fire nipple is.
Interesting. Because
Yeah.
I haven't done much in the depths, but I think what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna go down basically all of the tunnels that I have marked, because that's another thing that I've been using stamps for, is marking all the entrances to the depths that I haven't been to.
All the chasms.
Yeah, all of the chasms basically. So I've been marking all those, and I'm probably going to do some of those and basically do all the light routes in the immediate area, especially in places like Hebra, where the exploring the actual terrain above is not my favorite thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah, well,
explore the
once you find a chasm, it marks it on your map, so you don't have to
yeah.
leave a marker.
Yeah,
there.
I leave that. That's why I leave the markers for the ones I haven't been to, is just to remind me that they're there.
Yeah, I mean, and one piece of advice I'll give you, and this is, I mean, this applies to the surface too, but it really applies to the depths, because the depths is an inverse in terms of topography of the surface, which can sometimes make it hard to explore, is to build vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially the ones that fly. Even if it's just like 2 fans and a steering stick, like, I mean, that'll help a lot.
I still need to get more steering sticks. I don't think I actually have any in my inventory.
They take a while to find. I mean, now I have way more than I need. I still can't get enough fans and rockets for the life of me, but I have more than enough steering sticks. But they take a while to find. You have to kind of venture out a good ways into the sky to find them.
Yeah, because I haven't found any steering sticks yet. But I would like to, so that I could actually start building vehicles. Like, the one thing that I've seen everywhere is like the 2-fan vehicle or whatever that is like super useful, because you can like steer really well with it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I need to
the
get
only
I need
thing
to
that
do
really
one of
messes you
those.
up is if you like hit a wall. If you hit a wall, you basically have to turn it off and kind of move it out away from the wall and basically restart. But other than that, like it's pretty good. You can either kind of make it like a goblin glider, like the fans are on the side and the steering stick is in between them, or you can kind of make like a hover bike where the fans are in the front and the back and the steering stick is in between them.
Yeah, what I've seen, at least like the little clips that I've seen the most of, is more like the bike setup. Because apparently it's a lot well, it's very easy to steer. So
Right.
either way, I need to do
the
that,
thing is
because that's part of the reason why I haven't
is
done much of the depths, is because I've wanted to build one of those first.
right. Well,
so I can fly over everything.
Right. Yeah. One of the good thing about the depths, and you may have not come across these yet, is there's like build sites everywhere that have like various zone out devices, and you can build devices out of those.
Yeah, because
lots of fans and gliders.
One of the chasms that I went down into where I mentioned I met that one Yiga clan person, there was a build site like right there. So
right.
I'll probably start exploring from that region.
Like a hexagon shape, so you can always see them on the map.
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, they're always like a brown hexagon, so you can always see them on the map. They're easy to spot.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll just look around a little bit and kind of do my lax stuff, because I mean, it is a good game for getting like VODs and stuff on Twitch watched, because I don't have to listen to the game for anything, so I can just have stuff playing in the background the entire time and just play for hours. So
right. Good way to catch up on content.
But yeah, next one of these episodes, Zelda Talks number 3, will probably be after my next dungeon, whenever I am able to do that. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Just whatever you feel like.
Yeah, and whenever I get to it, because like I said, it was over a month in between my first time playing and last weekend when I got another 12 hours done, because I would like to play more, but for the moment I'm focusing on Final Fantasy 16, since that's a more finite experience. So I'm binging that this weekend and probably the rest of the week when I can, and basically until I finish it, and then that game's behind me and I can play Tears of the Kingdom for a weekend or two until we start playing Remnant 2.
Woo!
I'm so hyped, man. I don't know if you watched that video that I sent you for it. It looks like it's gonna be awesome.
I don't think I did. I saw that put out on your trailer for it.
I think I sent you a video. This is off topic for the discussion, but yeah, I did send you in DMs. I don't know when it was, a few nights ago, like 4 or 5 nights ago or something like that. It was a
Right.
YouTube link to like a very in-depth breakdown of everything. So there's some of that maybe you won't want to watch if you want to go in like blind. Um,
Eh.
but at least like the first 5-10 minutes of that is like I'm so ready. But yeah, so gamers, if you like the stuff that we do on here, Zelda Talks and all that whatnot, Josh and I relatively recently did a playthrough of Remnant from the Ashes, which is one of my favorite games just to play. I don't have very many games that I enjoy playing for the gameplay since I'm normally a story focused gamer, but Remnant is one of my favorites to just play because I can. So we did a playthrough of that. I finally recently have started posting our uploads of that on this channel every Wednesday, basically, until it's done. So for a couple months here. And then probably after that is when I'll be posting the Remnant 2 Let's Play, because in the time while that first game is uploading, we'll be able to record some of that. So I'm excited for that, but if there's any other stuff on the channel you're interested in, there are other gaming stuff happening, like my 2020 backlog, which is stuff from a long time ago that is not good. Don't watch it, but those come out every Friday anyway. And of course, I do music reviews several times, well, like 1 or 2 times a month when I can on Mondays. So, that's stuff that's going on the channel. But thank you guys for watching this discussion. If you did all the way through, I greatly appreciate it. We'll be back in the next one of these whenever it is. It might be another month or two. So, see you guys in the next one.